This is the question that is on every investor's mind. Will 2026 be the year to invest more? And I'm going to answer this question by using a simple framework that assesses growth prospects, valuations, and market behavior. So let's get started. The first thing that we're going to look at is in terms of growth prospects. When we look at India's growth trajectory, we're definitely on better footing than most of our global counterparts. You see, India has a fairly strong domestic growth momentum in terms of consumption as well as infrastructure. You're also seeing some improvement on the manufacturing side. These growth engines are not dependent on what's happening in the external environment. So even though 2025 was a year of tariff tantrums, you still had a strong growth within the domestic economy. Now 2026 can be more of the same or a different and more conducive environment for India's global growth positioning. When we look at the rest of the world, US in particular seems to be in a slower expansion zone. When we move to Europe, Europe has been more stagnant or cautious in terms of looking at growth initiatives. And China is coming out of some longer term structural issues and is at the cusp of a turning point. So clearly, India is still a market where you're seeing visible growth, and this is something that we can take a lot of confidence in when we're looking to allocate towards India. This brings us to our second point, which is in terms of valuations. And I'm going to quickly compare India versus US as markets. Now, the US has been a popular favorite, particularly because of the hot themes that have dominated headlines in 2025. Both Indian as well as US markets have been considered to be expensive because you have seen a lot of FII money flow out of India simply because compared to other emerging economies, India was not trading at fair multiples. But this also comes in a context where India offers a higher growth rate, which means that maybe a higher level of valuation compared to historic levels is warranted. But while we think about this, overall, what we do sense is that valuations are pricing in every bit of optimism that they can. And in certain pockets of the market, valuations have actually moved far ahead of their fundamentals. And we can look at this whether you're talking about the small cap space or if you're looking at AI as a theme, where businesses are trading at very expensive valuations and growth isn't going to make up for them. So actually, the risk in 2026 isn't about recessions or what will happen to the US economy. It's a lot to do with will valuations be able to sustain at the levels that they are at. This brings us to our third theme, which is in terms of behavior. One behavior that we are noticing amongst all market participants is the craze to chase gold and silver. Now, they've had a fantastic 2025 with gold delivering upwards of 70% returns and silver upwards of 100%. These are not normal returns for asset classes that are predominantly considered to be hedging assets and don't generate cash flows on their own. Now, let's take a look at how gold has behaved in past cycles. If we look at data from 2010 to 2012, this was a phase where gold almost doubled in value. It gained nearly 80% in these 3 years. If we fast forward to the next 3 years, gold's performance was actually something that most of us are not even aware of. It lost about 23% in value. Now, this is something that every investor needs to ask themselves before they decide to put their money into these asset classes. Sure, they are safe. Sure, they give you some diversification, but should it be your main portfolio bet, especially after you've had such stellar performance from this asset? This question, when you answer it, will help you decide how much risk you want to take in which part of your portfolio. $1 million milestone is a great way to start 2026. But to get there, you need sensible, sustainable strategy working for your portfolio. If you want a customized roadmap to $1 million, then comment MDM below and we'll get in touch with you to make sure that your $1 million dream is achieved. Because after all, what's going to work in 2026 is not chasing momentum, but looking at solid, stable ideas that can compound wealth while you sleep peacefully.